Okay, so you're thinking of moving to Bali, visiting Bali, staying in Bali for kind of a long term, or you're in Bali right now, and some of the things I'm about to tell you, you might already know. They might help you if you don't know it. And lastly, if you're there or you've been there, please share something that you wish you knew before you went. I'd love it in the comments, and it would help so many people. So jumping right into it, the first thing that I wish I knew before I lived in Bali was all that I needed was there. Like, I only have about 5 things I'm gonna share. I could probably do 20, but these are the 5 most important, and everything that I need is there. One of the questions that I get a lot when emails and comments and messages is like, what do I need to bring, Luke? Do I need to bring an extra pair of flip-flops? Do I need to bring a light, a tent? I've probably heard everything, and literally everything you need is there. If you guys don't know about me, I lived in Bali from March of 2020 until July of 2021. In that year and a half and a little bit more, I swapped out everything except my Osprey bag. Like, if I went there with just an Osprey bag, 38 liters, that's it. Because everything you need is there on the island. You know, sometimes, especially if you're coming from like United States, you're coming from somewhere that's like more than 20-hour flight, you kind of pack everything, and you have this huge heavy bag, and you arrive in Bali and it's super hot, and you have to get on the back of a scooter maybe, and you're carrying this huge thing around. And if you're like anybody, or like a lot of people in Bali, you're not going to just stay in one area. You know, you're going to go to Canggu, you're going to stay there for a little bit, then you're going to go to Ubud, then you're going to check out Uluwatu, based on the people that you meet. So I wish I knew that, because I bought a lot of stuff, and everything that I left there with was different than what I came there with. Yes, there's an Apple store. Yes, there's I have literally everything new: iPad, phone, computer, headphones, everything I got there. And if you're like me, I didn't know that I could get all that stuff there, including a very nice book bag or a nice carry bag while I was there. That's the first thing. The second thing kind of goes hand in hand with that is if you're like a very materialistic person, you're going to see sometimes when you get to Bali after a little bit of time, you kind of wear the same outfit all the time. You know, I don't know if that's just me, because I do that a lot. It doesn't really matter to me anymore. But you kind of do. Like, if you're a guy, you're going to wear 1 or 2 boarding shorts. Maybe you're not even going to wear a shirt. You're going to wear 1 pair of flip-flops, and you're going to maybe have 2 or 3 shirts to swap in case it rains. But you just you keep a dry pair of clothes under your scooter seat, and you're good to go. So that's something that I wish I knew, because that really weighed on me, and it kind of changed who I was, realizing that I didn't need so much stuff. You know, I kind of got simplified. And yeah, that was something very interesting. The third thing that I wish I knew, or the next thing that I wish I knew, which is very important, and I've said this in a lot of other videos, and if you've been to Bali, then you know this yourself, is that Bali is probably one of the greatest mirrors and excuse me, there's this guy just shoveling the cement. But Bali is one of the biggest mirrors. And I say that because it is truly a mirror. And when I say a mirror, whoever you are when you go to Bali, and this is true, I mean, maybe there's a lot of places like this. This is true for a lot of places, but for me, Bali was like the encompassing of it. It was one of the biggest things that I'd ever seen that reflected back to me. You know, you might see a darker part of yourself even more than you ever have, because it's such a mirror. And sometimes it's the brightest lights that cast the darkest, longest, scariest shadows. So it mirrors exactly who you are. If you go to Bali, and I say this a lot, this is probably my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to Bali, is if you go to Bali and you are somebody who is an alcoholic, okay, you're going to become even more of one there, because alcohol is even easier to get to, it's even cheaper, and there's a lot of other people drinking, and you can go and party every single night there, you know, every time, easily without thinking. Rest in peace, Old Man's. I think it's not there anymore. That's where a lot of people used to go. I only went there one time. Wasn't too impressed, but everyone loved it. And that's where all the crazy stories I heard happened. But you will become more of it. If you're a giving person, if you're someone who loves to help out, I know I talk to a lot of older people that I speak to, and especially I've done meetings with, that are expats, that are wanting to move and start like their life again in another place. One thing when I brought up to them, they really made it seem like it's a big deal, is to be able to give back to the community and help out the community. And trust me, if you are that kind of person in Bali, you will have the opportunity to do it. because you can help a lot of people for not as much money as you would need to do it in another country. And there's people everywhere that can use your help, including tourists, by the way. A lot of them don't admit it, but there's a lot of people that are struggling crazily financially there. And don't be tricked sometimes by people who are like, hey, I'm making this much money living in Bali, this is how much I'm paying. A lot of people, the majority of people, maybe not even the majority, maybe a little less, but one thing I realized was that most people that were there and they're like, hey, I run this business, their business wasn't making any money, and they just had money because they had worked so long and saved it and then came there. You know, so it was kind of like a trick almost. I'm like, oh, how'd you get that? How do you guys pay $4,000 a month for a villa? Oh, they run a clothing business. But then you realize that, oh, their clothing business isn't really making any money yet, and they're just using the money that they have saved. Nothing's wrong with that. But sometimes when you look at it, you kind of get skewed a little bit. So it's something just to be aware of. But more important, I don't know why I'm saying this is how I know I haven't talked in English in so long. I'm actually currently in Mexico. I'm actually on a college campus right now. That's why you hear cars and everything, and the sun's blasting in my face. There's the only table available right now. The thing that I would definitely also say is that if you're someone who really just wants to eat healthy and really get back in shape, like, it's going to show you that you're out of shape. Bali will show you really quick. All you have to do is take a quick trip over the shortcut, and you'll see people who look extremely fit. And it's going to mirror to you exactly how unfit you are. And what you do when you see that reflection is based off of what you actually really want. And for me, my wants really changed in Bali. I went there wanting to just have a great life and to be a I had literally just one dream. My only dream was to be in Bali. I saw Sorella Moore post a video of this. I used to be a big supporter of hers back in the day. She posted a video in her house, and she woke up at morning at 4:30, and she went outside her house, and there's just a pile of coconuts outside. And there are palm trees everywhere. And she grabbed one of the coconuts, she opened it and drank it. That was my only dream. That was it. That was it. And I realized, though, that when I got there, it showed me a lot of other things. It showed me that I didn't really want to pay for what I really wanted. It showed me that, like, my body is okay, but I don't really care of having the most fit-looking body. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It showed me that I can want that, but then do something different. And that's when I made this huge change. I've kind of fluctuated back and forth just from traveling, but we're getting back on the right track now. But, you know, it's like, if you look back on my Bali videos, you can see I am huge, because I basically retired from basketball and then just started traveling for like 10 months straight before I got to Bali. So no working out, nothing. And it showed me that I was really out of shape. It became an ultimate mirror. And it confronts you and allows you to look at that mirror and say, do I like what I see? Or what do I actually want to see the next time I look in this mirror? The question you ask yourself when you look in the mirror is probably one of the most important things. Things you say to yourself when you look in the mirror is important, but the question is even more important. You know, why am I so ugly? Or what can I do to improve how I look? Or what? These questions really matter. And Bali was one of the ultimate mirrors for that. The next thing I wrote down is that Bali is your own journey. You know, I get so many questions, and they're like, you know, Luke, what should I do? What do you think what would you do if you were me? Which is a great question. I always answer it. But I say Bali puts everyone on their own journey. Everybody. You're on your own journey, and it's perfectly timed according to what the island says for you. You know, you don't have to believe that kind of crazy stuff, but it's just something that I've noticed when I live there. You're on your own journey. You're going to get there, and there's some people who are making a lot of money, living on very little money. There's people making little money and living the high life. And there's people who are just kind of in the middle. There's all forms of it. But you're on your own journey there. And for me, my life didn't change until I took my eyes off of everyone else and really focused on, like, me. What do I want? And everything you need, the people that you need, the connections are all there. You can literally, I think, be connected to anyone in the entire world by just 2 or 3 people there in Bali. That's how crazy it is. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And I believe this journey starts after 1 week in Bali. If you're already in Bali, you've probably already felt this. You have this dream of, like, coconuts on the beach and palm trees and riding on your scooter and these kind of things that everyone has kind of shown on the internet. And you're going to go there and you're going to be like, okay, I'm on the beach. It's 103 degrees. Okay, I'm going to just leave the beach now because I'm cooking. This coconut is even hot. And I'll just come back for sunset. and you're gonna come back for sunset, and you're gonna see everyone is there for the sunset. And then you're gonna notice on day 2, you're gonna notice the same people as you go for your walk, and you're gonna say hi and look at them. You're gonna look at all the good-looking people and say hi and smile. Day 3, you're gonna know them, and then day 4, you're gonna know their name. Day 5, you're gonna see them. Day 6, you won't even say anything. You just be like, hey, you see the same people all the time. And I think day 7 is like, boom, your journey starts. You're gonna be like, you're gonna ask the ultimate question, which is what I try to get my clients to see before they even would go to Bali. It's just like, what's next? Like, what do I actually really want now? Now that I got that little adrenaline pump out of the way, what is this journey for me? Is this a journey of discovering who I am? Is it a journey of healing all the things that have held me back? Is it a journey of finally stop being scared? Is it a journey of finally being on my own and having the space? Because you're gonna do it, but remember, you gotta remember, Bali is a mirror. So if you go there, I said this in the other video, you can go there and you can just be like, I just haven't ever been the star of a party and I've always wanted to be. You're gonna have the opportunity to be a star of a party. It doesn't take much money, not at all. Sounds like a nice motorcycle. Doesn't take much money at all. And it doesn't take that much money or anything to be, oh, I like that bike. And it doesn't take much to have the attention that you want. There's plenty of lonely people in Bali. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. No matter how good they look, trust me, there's lonely people there in Bali. Lonely, beautiful looking people in Bali. Let me just get that out the way now. And you can find all the attention that you want while you're there. So that's the next thing I say. And then the final thing that I say, and I hope that this video finds you well, and I really hope that it maybe lights up something in your brain, is, and it's happy, but it's also sad, this last thing that I discovered when I went to Bali, or lived in Bali. It's that, I don't even like to talk about it. Whew. But Bali, the second you arrive, Bali has already given you an expiration date. It's already given you an expiration date. Is this lighting been bad on my face the whole time? The sun shining in my face? Okay. Let's put the sunglasses on. I'm like blinded. Bali always gives you an expiration date. It's one of the saddest things. I don't like to hear it. I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. But Bali will give you an expiration date. What do I mean by expiration date? I mean, maybe if you're not in Bali right now, you've probably felt it. I know some of my close friends who live there, they felt it because we all talked about it. But you're going to be there. You might be the star, the king. You might be so connected. You might be going to dinners, three meals a day with different groups of people, talking about deep stuff. You might be helping the community. You might be clothing people, going to all the ceremonies, celebrating Galugan, celebrating Nyepi, celebrating Kulikan, celebrating all these different things. But Bali's going to have an expiration date for you. And it's going to be a time when you're going to be like, it's time for me to go. And it's very easy to fight that. Anyone in Bali who's lived there for any amount of time can tell you that. Not the 30-day people, because 30 days I don't think is enough time there. I mean, it's nice, but really once you're there for a long time and you know how to like hack everything, like you get tired of Canggu, maybe it's time to leave. But then you just change and you go over to Uluwatu. Then you change and you go to Singaraja. Then you change, you go to Ubud. Then you change and you go to Ahmed. And you do these little things. You kind of keep this little routine so you don't get bored. But there's an expiration date that we just keep pushing it, kind of the Jonah and the whale story. And the expiration date is so vital because you're going to learn so much there. If you're there right now, you're learning so much. You might be too busy running around and doing so much with people and distracted. But the second you take a moment to really pause, take a time, go away to the mountains, go away. Look in my vlogs where we went to the glamping places or places like this that was away from everyone. It's in those quiet moments that you're going to be shown, like, my time is done here. It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to take these lessons that I've learned on whatever it is. For me, it was a lot of lessons in I learned a lot about money. How money isn't this scary thing. How money is very powerful. It's a tool that can help so many people. And because I have a lot of money doesn't mean that I'm going to change who I am. I was terrified of it for so long. And it showed me that. It also showed me that gratitude is one of the most powerful, it is the most powerful, I think, emotions that you can have. I learned from watching the people of Bali. I remember when I lived in Uluwatu and I was riding my scooter and I saw these people building this villa. And these people, they live in aluminum huts when they're building. So it's just a plate of aluminum and then 2 wood things on the side. And that's where they live, the builders of these villas. And they live there for weeks or maybe months. And I was watching them. And I watched them every day. And one day I was like, let me just stop there. And you know, I stopped there. And at that time, things were Oh, my camera cut off again. Things weren't great for me in every area, but there were certain areas that were better in my life than had ever been in my life. And as I watched these builders, I'm sitting there with a coconut, this guy walked out and he had like jeans that were half torn. He had no shirt on. He looked like a little bit dirty, like, you know, like he hadn't showered in a few days. I remember watching them, I was like, man, and I was like, I wish they lived in nicer places. I remember thinking that, like, if they just had a place, maybe to shower or something, they can't be happy in there. And then all of a sudden, I see a woman come out of the same shack he was in. And she was carrying like a pan. And he was going over by the fire, and she came out with a pan and said something to her. And they just started both laughing. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. I was like, so I guess maybe he does have his wife. I think it's his wife, maybe. And then a kid came running out after them. And he came and hugged the dad. And the dad is still there with the fire. The mom has the pan. She's putting it on there. And then the kid's holding the leg of the father. I remember just thinking, like, how? How do you have so little, but yet have so much? Like, how? I didn't understand it. And I think at that time I had been there probably almost for like a year. But I still couldn't get it. And it was just like, I get it now a little bit more. And it was like, I never had felt something like that before. Never noticed that. And I realized how important it is to be grateful for what you have. Not, because if you don't like what you have, then what's the point of even having it? If you don't like what you have and you have nice things and you don't like them, like, I was like, what's the point? I'm like, I have my friends who I talk to every day going to Body Factory. Shout out Body Factory. Thank you so much for all the love and everything. Former sponsors, and they think will always be sponsors of my videos and what I do. I love them. And then we talked there, and I talked to these guys who were making thousands every day. And they would just come in there and they can be complaining about something. They'd be complaining about their computer not working. They'd be complaining about their second motorcycle, something's going on with it. Or they complain about the staff at their villa. And I was just like, and these people I'm looking at have nothing. In the terms of what we look at as having something. And I realized in that moment they have everything. And I started to learn these lessons, and they combined. I realized, like, this is great knowledge, this stuff that I learned. It's time for me to share it. And I was able to find about 5 months more of things to distract myself and be in situations that I didn't want to be in anymore, but I felt like I had an obligation to when I actually didn't, looking back on it. And I realized my expiration date had come. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to share this. But Bali left me with one thing. And if you have been there or you were there, it doesn't matter if it was in 1987 the last time you were there or it was a year and a half ago. You'll always be called back when it's time for you to go. When it's time for you to go back, I love looking at planes. When it's time for you to go back, the island will call you back. And on that note, those are the things that I wish that I knew before going to Bali. Those were the things. And the relationships that you make with the tourist is nice, with the people who live there is nice. But the relationships that I made with the local people, those are the things that a year, 2 years later, that I still think about at night. I still think about it. I still think of the laughs I had with YN. I think about IU, one of my housekeepers in one of the places that I lived, and how she was always shy. And then finally at the end, she was so happy and sad that we were leaving. I think of one of the places that I lived, the staff that I had name was Linda. How she would literally go shopping every morning and come back and cut all these, I forgot, sabo. It's like, I don't know what it's called. It's called chico zapote here in Mexico. But it's like the Balinese kiwi, they called it. She'd go there and peel it for me every day and put the bowl in there. And she'd just laugh, and I'd give her a little bit of I give her a bowl of it too. Like, here you go, you made me a huge one. And she'd be so shocked. And I think about, like, my friend Made, who I watched him with his kids and play, and we just talked. He would always be drinking beer and holding his kids, and they'd be laughing and joking. He was there every day working, never missed a day. I think about my other friend Made, the owner of the places one of the offices that I used to rent. And I remember him and how his wife was pregnant. They were so happy and excited. And then I remember his baby was born, and I got to see the baby. And now the baby's like 2 years old. It's just like, where did time go? I think about all my cutie friends who worked in Motion, IU, Kadek, YN. I think about all of you all. And I think of all this stuff, and I not even stuff, these people, these moments. And yes, the fun parties were great, but it's the connections that I made with the locals that go in my mind, that go on replay. Connections I made with people were great. Have business deals even to this day, working with people, talking with people. But there's nothing like the connections I made local. So that's what I wish I knew before Bali. It's something you need to go and see and you experience for yourself. And then when you do that, you really realize that, oh my gosh, maybe this is true what this guy is saying. So with that being said, I appreciate you. I love you. Any questions that you guys have, anything that you were able to take away from when you went to Bali, or things that you're looking forward to in Bali, I look forward to hearing from you. Leave it in the comments. And with that being said, it is time for me to leave this beautiful school and start my day. Love you guys. Take care and enjoy your trip to Bali. And if you're in Bali, keep enjoying it. If I can ever help you out, send me a message, email, or just leave a comment with a question. See you later.